Hey everyone, welcome back to the very last episode of the Roaming Build Super Series. And the last Roaming Super, you guys, well, you didn't really vote for it, but the last Roaming Super is Spectral Blades, one of the worst supers in the entire game. I really tried using this exotic chest armor piece called GYRFALCON'S Vest, but it just didn't really seem any too good for a build. So in this video, I'm using the GYRFALCON'S HAUBERK, or GYRFALCON'S HAUBERK, however you want to pronounce it. I don't really care, but you're going to, of course, inflict tons of volatile on your enemies, and you're also going to weaken and become invisible. You're also going to be getting an unlimited amounts of overshields, and last but not least, you're going to be getting Spectral Blades extremely fast. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Roaming Super Series, and I would greatly appreciate it if you will hit that like and sub button. And so without further ado, let's head to this invisible volatile round build. You guys already know what exotic armor piece we're using, and let me just show you what it does. Basically, whenever you emerge from being invisible, your void weapons will be granted volatile rounds. And when you are invisible and you were to defeat a combatant while using a finisher, all of your weapons will gain bonus damage. And also, teammates that are right beside you will also gain a reserve overshield that will improve their class ability regeneration. And last but not least, if you want to deploy the reserve overshields, all you would have to do is activate your class ability. So either by finishing a target or activate your dodge. Any of the two would work. But the main part is that we're going to be getting volatile rounds that will basically make us become invisible 100% of the time, as long as you have volatile rounds activated. All right, on to the Night Stalker subclass. For the super, go for Spectral Blades. And a lot of people really do not know what the super does because nobody really uses it. So let me explain what it does. If you were to use your light attack while activating Spectral Blades, it will just perform a basic melee attack. But the main part for the super is that when you activate your heavy attack, it would weaken the target, and it would also make you become invisible. Onto the abilities. For your class ability, you can choose any of the two dodges you like, but for me, I would recommend going for Gambler's Dodge just to give your melee back whenever you dodge near an enemy. For your Void Grenade, you can freely choose any Void Grenade you like, but currently I'm really having fun using Scatter Grenade. Onto the aspects. The first one, or should I say the main one you're going to want to put, is Stylish Executioner. So if you want to become invisible, all you would have to do is either defeat a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target. So in this build, we are going to be weakening with our melee ability and with our super. And secondly, we're going to make enemies volatile because of our exotic chest armor piece. There's also another trait to this aspect, but we're not really going to use it for this build. But after performing a stylish execution, your next melee attack while invisible will weaken the target. The second aspect will allow us to become invisible while dodging, and it's called the Vanishing Step. So this is one of the ways to make us activate volatile rounds. Let's head to the fragments for this build. There are 4 in total. Let's head to the first one. You're going to want to go for Echo of Reprisal just because this is a super build. So whenever you're surrounded by targets and you were to get final blows, it would grant you super energy. The second one you're going to need to go for is Echo of Cessation. If you were to finish a target, it would create a burst of void damage that will cause nearby targets to become volatile. That part doesn't matter, but the second part really does if you want to tie this to the seasonal artifacts. Whenever you were to defeat volatile targets, it would create a void breach. And whenever you pick up a void breach, it will grant you class ability energy. And once we get volatile rounds, you're also going to have the ability to stun anti-barrier champions for your void weapons only. And why I chose to put this fragment, because on the seasonal artifacts, there are 2 artifacts that would benefit for just by collecting a void breach. The next 2 fragments are going to be based on survivability and duration. The first one is Echo of Starvation. Whenever you pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, it will grant you Devour, but sadly, you'll get -10 recovery. So in this build, we are going to be producing Orbs of Power and Void Breaches, so no matter what you were doing, you're going to be getting Devour a lot. And there's also another artifact that will give you Devour too, which is called Power from Pain. And the last fragment for this build will just increase the duration for Overshield, Devour, and Invisibility, and it's called Echo of Persistence. But sadly, you'll get minus 10 mobility. So in this build, we are going to be activating all of those 3 buffs. So that's why I chose to put this fragment. Before I start explaining what weapons you need for the build, for the exotic, you can choose any exotic you like. But for me, I chose to put the conditional finality just to stun unstoppable champions. So you're going to have 2 shots in the mag, and the first shot is stasis and the second shot is solar. The first initial shot, if you were to shoot all of your pellets on a target, it would freeze them. And for solar, it would make them ignite. And those 2 parts will also stun unstoppables such as freezing and igniting. But for the freezing part, you're going to need to shoot him a couple more times if you want him to shatter, because unstoppables, that is their weakness, which is shatter. Now let's head to the 2 main weapons for this build. On the energy weapon, I chose to put this void submachine gun called the Recluse. And here are the perks you would need for this build. On the 3rd column, you need to go for Repulsor's Brace. Whenever you defeat a void debuff target, that would be a volatile target, a weakened target, or a suppressed target, it will grant you a void overshield. So this is the main weapon that will grant us an overshield for this build. And on the 4th column, I went for Master of Arms. Final blows with this weapon will improve its weapon damage. And also, I did choose Recluse because of the origin trait called Indomitability. If we were to get kills with this submachine gun, it will grant us grenade energy whenever we play on a light subclass, or melee energy whenever we're playing on a darkness subclass. So in this build, it is void, so it is a light subclass, so we're going to be getting 5% grenade energy. And for the weapon mod, I would recommend going for heavy ammo finder enhancement just to give us a higher of a chance to get heavy ammo for our void machine gun that we are using for this build. And might as well, we're talking about the void machine gun, you can choose any void power weapon in the game, but I would like to choose a machine gun just to activate volatile rounds and also getting a bunch of kills as well. And the machine gun I chose to put is Retrofit Escapade, because this thing sprays like crazy for the rounds per minute, which is 900, so it's gonna shoot out very quickly. And if you are shooting this on a big enemy and you have volatile rounds procced, the volatile rounds are going to be activating non-stop. So here's what you need to put on the perks. On the 3rd column, I would recommend going for 4th times the charm. Rapidly landing precision hits on an enemy will return 2 rounds to the magazine. And on the 4th column, I recommend going for frenzy. Being in combat for an extended time will increase its damage, handling, and reload for this weapon until you are out of combat. And for the origin trait, be sure to go for ambush. It would improve range, handling, and damage against combatants during the opening moments of an engagement. So whenever you start fighting enemies, this origin trait will activate. And for the weapon mod, go for backup mag to increase the magazine size. If you guys would like to take a screenshot for the seasonal artifacts, feel free to do so right now. I'm not going to explain each and every one of them because that is a lot. So take a picture or check out the dim loadout link in the description when you're done watching this video. Let's head to the stats for the build. Your main priority for every PvE build is to go for resilience, because if you have tier 10 resilience, it will give you a 30% damage reduction. And your second priority will be mobility to 1, reduce your class ability cooldown, and 2, it would also increase your movement speed and maximum jump height. Here's the full build layout on screen. Feel free to take a picture, but again, the dim loadout link will be in the description. All right, let me show you guys the gameplay loop for this build. You're first going to either activate your snare bomb on a target to weaken them, or activate your gambler's dodge to make you go invisible. But for me personally, I would toss my snare bomb to weaken them and then kill them to make me go invisible. And then once I see another enemy, I would dodge near that target to give me my melee back. And as we have volatile rounds activated on our void weapons, we're going to be wreaking havoc on the battlefield, producing orbs of power and void breaches. And once you see a void breach, pick it up and it would activate the seasonal artifacts. And as you keep on getting kills with your weapons, your super will be ready. Activate your super and kill everything around you. Rinse and repeat. I hope you guys did enjoy the entirety of the roaming super series. If you guys would like to check out all of the roaming super builds, it would be on my channel. And I really had fun making a build for every single roaming super. Yeah, some of them were pretty horrible and some of them were pretty good. And I hope you guys would try out the builds for yourself. If you guys are struggling in any activity in the game that relates to PvE, feel free to hop over on Kick or Twitch. It'll be kick.com/superapt or twitch.tv/superapt. Or if you guys would like to chill, that would work as well. Everyone is welcome.